In Revenge of the Sith, the Republic collapses, the Jedi Order is scattered, and two newborns are hidden like contraband the Empire can never be allowed to inventory. Luke Skywalker goes to Tatooine, Leia Organa goes to Alderaan, and Master Yoda disappears into the swamp until he becomes a rumour people argue about in whispers. But what if Yoda does not simply hide? What if Yoda trains Leia? In this version of the story, that's exactly what happens, and nothing turns out the same. Let's begin. Polis Massa is too quiet for what just happened. The medical bay smells like antiseptic and ash. The lights are too bright, as if grief itself is being interrogated. Padmé Amidala is gone. Not from a visible wound, but from a body that stopped fighting when there was nothing left to hold on to. Two infants sleep in borrowed blankets. Luke, Leia. Obi-Wan Kenobi stands over them with a face caught between guilt and shock. Bail. Organa's hands are steady, but his eyes keep sliding toward the corridor like the Empire might walk in on the grief. Yoda stands beside them and feels smaller than Obi-Wan remembers. Not in body. In the Force. Hidden, safe, the children must be kept, Yoda says. Somewhere the Sith will not sense their lives. Bail nods once, like he has already accepted what the next decade will require. My wife and I will take the girl, Bail says. We've spoken of adopting. She will be loved on Alderaan, publicly, completely. Princess Leia Organa, with a story no one questions because it is true where it matters. Obi-Wan swallows. And the boy, Obi-Wan says. To Tatooine, to his family, Yoda replies. Watch over him, Kenobi will. Until the time is right. Obi-Wan dips his head. Sand, distance. A life that looks harmless. Yoda turns to him, sudden and precise. Wait, Yoda says. Obi-Wan freezes. Training I have for you, Yoda continues. An old friend, returned, in a way. Your old master, Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan blinks like the name reopened something he thought had finally closed. Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan says. Returned. How to commune with him, teach you I will, Yoda says. A path to endure, he found. Bail exhales, quiet and shaky. A thin thread of hope in a room that has none to spare. They are mid-plan, and Obi-Wan catches it anyway. Yoda keeps returning to Leia with the focus of someone counting futures. Later, when Bail steps away to speak with his pilot, Obi-Wan leans closer. Master Yoda, Obi-Wan says, when Bail offered to take the girl, you hesitated. Yoda watches Leia's face, calm in sleep, as if control is already native to her. Strong in spirit she is, Yoda says at last. Steady in the light. Obi-Wan's voice drops. You want to train her? Yoda's mouth tightens. The Jedi failed, Yoda says. Failed? I did. Skywalker, I misunderstood. Obi-Wan holds his ground, careful with every word. You taught me fear leads to the dark side, Obi-Wan says. Do not let it lead you now. Obi-Wan looks down at Leia, then back to Yoda. We fell because we were blind, Obi-Wan says. If you believe she is steady, guide her, quietly. Let her live as Organa and learn where no one can see. Yoda exhales, long and thin, like letting go of an old certainty. Very well, Yoda says. Speak with Senator Organa. I will. Bail returns and reads the tension in a single glance. Master Yoda, Bail says, is everything all right? Speak with you about the girl. I must, Yoda replies. Bail's expression shifts immediately. You want to train her? Bail says. Yoda tilts his head, surprised by how quickly Bail lands on the truth. I'm no Jedi, Bail says, but I've served long enough to recognize when the galaxy is balancing on a blade. The girl, steady, Yoda says. If she lives as your daughter and trains with me, hidden, hope becomes harder to extinguish. Bail answers without hesitation. You will always have my support. Bail says. But we do it clean. No gaps, no patterns, nothing an Imperial analyst can circle. Yoda's face does not brighten, only hardens into resolve. They separate before dawn. Luke leaves with Obi-Wan toward Tatooine and obscurity. Leia leaves with Bail toward Alderaan and a life that must look unquestionably real. And Yoda disappears into Dagobah, not as refuge, but as cover. Leia does not grow up in the swamp. That would create an absence too large to explain. Instead, she grows up as Princess Leia Organa, trained in responsibility before she has the patience for it. Bail builds her public life so consistent it becomes its own shield. When she must vanish, the reasons are ordinary enough to pass: diplomatic education, controlled travel, private retreats that fit the rhythm of a senator's household. And the hidden part is handled like everything Bail does. Not with comlinks, not with records, with people. No fixed route, no repeated ship, no schedule you can chart. A dead drop, a different port. A last jump made without transmitting a name. Then, in windows small enough to disappear, he sends her to Yoda. The Force is loud on Dagobah, not in words, but in pressure. Roots, water, decay, life that never stops moving. As a child, Leia cries at night because she feels the galaxy straining and cannot yet separate her own fear from what she's sensing. Yoda starts where he trusts: stillness. He does not give her a lightsaber. He teaches her how to hold her mind in place. When she can walk without sinking, she follows him across wet stone and tangled roots, questions spilling out like breath. Why do the vines move? Leia asks. Because they live, Yoda answers. Why does the water feel angry sometimes? Leia asks. Because you are angry, Yoda says. Why does it get quiet when I stop talking? Leia asks. Because you finally listen, Yoda replies. On Alderaan, she learns politics, the slow violence of procedure, the way cruelty hides behind polite language. On Dagobah, she learns what makes it possible, how fear tightens the body, how anger becomes an instinct if you reward it, how power can feel like relief, and why that is exactly when it becomes dangerous. Yoda shows her Jedi history as caution, not legend. Stories of good people who expected darkness to look obvious and never considered it could look helpful, familiar, reasonable. Leia refuses to be a quiet student. When the Jedi served the Republic, why did the Republic fall? Leia asks. If you were guardians of peace, why was there war? She asks. When Yoda offers distance instead of clarity, she holds his gaze. That wasn't an answer, Leia says. Yoda does not punish her. He adjusts because he realizes what she is becoming is not a blade. She is a builder. Training stays tight and deliberate. Weeks at a time, then back to Alderaan, Yoda teaches her to keep her presence small, to touch the Force without broadcasting herself, because surviving the Empire means learning how to be dangerous without being obvious. If the Organa heir is exposed as a Jedi, the rebellion loses more than a symbol. It loses allies who only stay brave while they can pretend they are still lawful. When she is older, he gives her the truths that cannot be delayed. Order 66, Yoda says one morning. Leia freezes. The Empire killed the Jedi, Leia says. It's, Yoda replies. And the Jedi did not see. He tells her about the trap and the blindness, about the cost of believing you can stand outside the politics you serve. Then he says the one truth that changes her spine. Your father, Darth Vader, Yoda says. Leia goes still. My father is a monster, Leia says. Yoda does not argue what Vader is. He refuses the comfort of simplicity. Anakin Skywalker was good, Yoda says, was brave, was loved, and became twisted. The knowledge does not soften her, it sharpens her. Yoda recognizes the danger instantly, because focus without restraint becomes obsession. so he gives her a guardrail she hates. Justice without compassion is just anger wearing armor, Yoda tells her. Leia hates it because it lands, because it is aimed at the part of her that would gladly burn the galaxy to fix it. When the time comes for a lightsaber, the challenge is practical. Kyber is scarce, controlled, hunted. The Empire is already collecting it for projects it refuses to name in public. Bail uses routes the Empire still dismisses: faith networks, quiet smugglers, people who know how to hide precious things in plain sight. Leia travels under diplomatic cover with escorts, Bail trusts. Yoda stays where he must stay, unseen. Jedha is not safe anymore, but it is not fully sealed either. Not yet. The shrines still breathe beneath pressure, and people still hide what they can in places soldiers don't understand. In a half-collapsed chamber, Leia finds a small Kyber cache sealed behind stone, hidden by hands that knew boots were coming. She does not choose a colour. She reaches, and one answers clear and steady. She carries it back to Dagobah like a secret pulse in her palm. There, with Yoda watching and correcting, she builds. The first ignition cuts the fog. A blue blade, clean, controlled. Yoda does not speak of destiny. He watches her grip, her breath, the way she holds power without letting it hold her. Years pass. Leia grows into two lives and refuses to let either one rot her. Princess in public, studying systems and people. Jedi in secret, learning how to sense the future without being dragged by it. Qui-Gon's knowledge remains where canon leaves it, inside Yoda and Obi-Wan. Leia learns what matters through Yoda's choices and warnings, not through visitations that would turn discipline into spectacle. Then history catches up. At 19, Leia becomes the courier of the Death Star plans exactly as circumstances demand. Capture happens above Tatooine, and she adapts instantly. If she can't prevent the net, she decides how she'll move inside it. She does not carry her saber onto the station, because trophies are what empires live for. Vader senses discipline in her anyway. Not power, control. The unnatural quiet of someone who knows how not to flare. Leia gives him nothing. She measures every breath she takes in front of him and refuses to light up the Force. Obi-Wan comes. Obi-Wan falls. Leia escapes with the others, and the price arrives anyway. Alderaan is destroyed. The Death Star is destroyed. The war becomes undeniable. Hoth forces the Alliance to run, and Luke feels Dagobah pulling at him like gravity. He goes, because that is the hinge of his story. Leia stays visible, because she has to. She stays on the manifest, stays in the chain of command, stays exactly where Organa is expected to be, even as she runs with the others. If she vanishes cleanly from the evacuation, it becomes a pattern even Bail cannot bury. She buys time, creates a corridor, and gets them out. After Bespin, Luke returns to Dagobah hungry for answers, and finally willing to admit he is not ready. Leia goes too, because now the secrecy has begun to collapse under its own weight, and the Alliance can absorb one more absence the way it could not during Hoth. Bail covers it the same way he always has: medical recovery, diplomatic quarantine, anything that sounds boring enough for the Empire to stop listening. When Luke arrives, Leia says nothing about their history. She lets Yoda test him the old way because impatience is the first trap, and Luke is full of it. Yoda drops the performance when it's done. Obi-Wan appears. The truth is spoken plainly. "Brother and sister," Obi-Wan says. Luke takes it like a punch. Leia takes it like a weight with a name. Training becomes compressed and merciless. Luke burns bright and volatile. Leia sharpens into control and clarity. Yoda pushes Luke toward stillness and pushes Leia toward trust, because her instinct is to carry everything alone. Luke sees visions and wants to run. Leia refuses to romanticize it. "If we go unready, we lose," Leia says. "And if we lose, the Emperor does not even have to try." They leave anyway. because the Force rarely offers clean choices, only survivable ones. She uses the identity the Empire still underestimates. Organa. She engineers a capture that looks like Imperial success because prisoners go places fleets cannot, and because the Emperor wants Skywalkers delivered to him. In the throne room, the board is finally visible. "Magnificent," the Emperor says. "Lord Vader was correct. You are the offspring of Anakin Skywalker." "Your reign ends here," Leia says. "And who will stop me?" he asks. "We will," Leia replies. "Deal with them," the Emperor says. Vader ignites red. Luke and Leia call their sabers to hand. Green and blue flare alive. The duel is immediate and brutal. Luke fights with instinct and heart. Leia fights with angles and restraint, denying Vader the clean dominance he expects. The Emperor watches like it is a sport. Leia slips inside Vader's guard and cuts. His hand falls. The red blade dies. Vader drops to one knee. "Unlike your brother," the Emperor says to Leia, "you carry anger." "I carry responsibility," Leia says. "Join me," he says. Lightning erupts. Luke and Leia seize under it, agony drowning thought. "Now you will die," the Emperor says. Vader looks at his children breaking under the same power that owned his life. Something clears in him, not rage, clarity. He lifts the Emperor and hurls him into the shaft. The lightning stops. Vader staggers, smoke rising from his armor. Luke catches him. "Help me," Vader rasps. "Take this mask off." "If we do, you'll die," Leia says. "Nothing can stop that," Vader says. "Let me look at you, with my own eyes." They remove the mask. Anakin Skywalker's face is ruined, but the eyes are human. "Leia," Anakin says. "Father," Leia says. "Your mother would be proud," Anakin whispers. "We can save you," Leia says. "You already did," he whispers. "I love you both," Anakin says. Then the light in his eyes goes out. They escape before the station dies. They return to Dagobah and find only robes. "What happened?" Luke says. "Gone. I am not," Yoda says. "Only different. I am now." Yoda stands as a blue spirit, with Obi-Wan beside him, and Leia finally feels the full shape of what she was given. Not power, a way to hold power without becoming a weapon. "Raised you I did in secret," Yoda says, "and seen you in the light I have." "I couldn't have done it without you," Leia says. "You both did what no one else could," Obi-Wan says. Anakin appears, unmasked and quiet, no longer trapped inside a machine that only knew pain. "You saved me," Anakin says. "I forgot what mattered." "Family," he says. "I love you, Father," Leia says. "I always loved you," Anakin says. The spirits fade and the swamp is still again. But the galaxy is not. Rebuilding begins without a throne at the center, and that is the point. Leia returns to government because she never stopped being Organa, and she carries Jedi discipline without making it a banner. Luke returns to teaching because he finally understands what Yoda tried to give him from the beginning. Balance is not suppression. Balance is choice. What if Yoda trained Leia? In this timeline, he didn't just train a fighter. He trained the one person who could live inside the system, fight outside it, and still stay in the light. If you enjoyed this alternate path, subscribe for more Star Wars What Ifs, and may the Force be with you.